Let's turn now to the French election, something we don't want to keep our eye off of and which we've anticipated a long time here on Breaking Points. Absolutely stunning results for history here, but perhaps not because of the polls. Let's put this up there on the screen. The French legislative election has happened and the far right won the first round. Macron's party suffered an absolutely devastating loss. So the National Rally Party has won now, quote, a crushing victory in the first round of voting for the French National Assembly, basically bringing this Nationalist Party to the brink of victory for the first time in decades. So the official results from the French Interior Ministry says that the right-wing coalition won about 33% of the vote. Macron's party and its allies took about 20% to end in the third place. The coalition of left-wing parties, called the New Popular Front, won about 28% of the vote. These are like moderate socialists and others. The reason why this is very important is it shows us that the political center has been absolutely destroyed in France. That's really what Macron was gambling on. You take elements of the left and the right, you cobble it all together. Here now, voters are making it clear. They're like, no. We are done with that. Macronism, Jupiterianism, compromise, etc. That's over. We're either going left or right, and that's it. So this is a bit complicated because in France, it's a multiple round election and there will now be a runoff. Now in those runoffs, you can have up to 3 parties, which means that you will have the far right, you will have the left-wing coalition, and then you'll have the Macron coalition. Now, there's actually an even more further left coalition. They have decided to drop out and to endorse the left-wing coalition, meaning that there will be 3. Now, in the actual results themselves, the way that it all worked out, we can put this Financial Times story up on the screen. They are trying to decide exactly what they're going to do. So to explain here, out of all of the districts that were counted, the right wing finished first in 296 constituencies out of 577. Think of it like seats in Congress. While the left wing got 150 and then Macron's party 60. There are 65 constituencies where there will be two-way runoffs between the right and the left. The party needs 289 seats for an outright majority, okay? An outright majority. Now, the Macron party needs to decide whether it will drop out and endorse the left-wing coalition, making it a two-way race, and probably at least somewhat guaranteeing that the left wing will take power or not. But they have decided not to do this on a party-wide basis. Instead, they say they will, quote, make case-by-case decisions based on whether a left-wing candidate was compatible with Republican values, but they will not exclude any party. Now, again, this means that in some seats they may drop out, in others they may not, but Macron and his party really have a decision to make because who the hell are they going to back when they only got third? They got some 20% of the vote. The right-wing coalitions gets 33% of the vote, left-wing is getting 28%. Keep in mind also, massive turnout in France, right? I mean, 67% of people coming out to vote in this snap election. And I will say this, what it does at least inform for us is it shows us people are done, at least in France, with compromise politics. Now, what does that mean perhaps for us? Think back to 2016. You have Modi, who wins in India, destroys the centrist coalition in India, basically for all time, at least up until now. He still wins, an unprecedented third term, even if it is somewhat of a compromised government. Then 2015, you have the destruction of the European Union consensus in the UK, the neoliberal elite. Basically, David Cameron calls this election. He has no idea what's going to happen in this referendum. He thinks he's going to win. And then boom, Brexit happens and they decide to withdraw and it shakes up politics again to this day. Rishi Sunak has fallen, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, and Theresa May, the Tory party, basically getting destroyed now at this point, poised for a historic defeat. They too are going down. And there is now some weird coalition of centrism, Labour Party, but anti-Brexit and acknowledging where the country is today. So there's that. It basically roiled politics there. Then you had the election of Donald Trump here in 2016. And then in recent times, we've watched a lot of stuff happen too. The French election, just the latest in the rise of right-wing parties across Europe, from the AfD now surging in Germany, Meloni's victory in Italy, and also the brand of, I would say, nationalism embodied by Viktor Orban in Hungary, which originally was very isolated by the neoliberal elite of the European Union, becoming much more normalized. I also forgot about Nigel Farage, who is himself mounting a candidacy in the UK, and by all accounts, a lot more popular, or at least as popular as it's been since the Brexit days of 2015, perhaps one of the most important figures in all of that. So what does that mean then for us? Well, here we have the double whammy of both the unpopularity of the neoliberal elite here, embodied really by Joe Biden and his candidacy, on top of the collapse of his own personal brand with his age. And then you see this hollowed out elite of Obama and Bill Clinton, what we spend so much of our early time on the show, basically saying it's lesser of two evils, guys. There's nothing that we can do. So eventually, no matter what happens in France, whether it's the left wing that takes power or the right wing because of Macron's own narcissism, the destruction of the center is itself, I think, the central political story of now the 2020s. Biden himself, it looks more like an aberration than the rule. And I think increasingly, that's the way that we are going to look back on a roiling political decade in the same way that we do back in the 1970s. In some ways, we have a lot of the same characteristics, even the rise of leftism in France, if we want to go back and think about the international context. And also in terms of retrenchment, in terms of America's position abroad. So there's big questions that have to be asked now for Europe about who are they? This would shake up dramatically. France is a bedrock of the European Union. Macron is like the biggest EU guy that there is. He wants an EU army, EU foreign policy. He's been pushing a much more hawkish position towards Russia in the Ukraine war. That's going to have major consequences. The Le Pen party historically has always been a lot closer to Russia. They apparently also would change their policy vis-a-vis Gaza, so that could change things in terms of becoming more right-wing, more sympathetic to Israel in that conflict. It could change things also in terms of our own politics about what those trade disputes and all of that will look like if they perhaps will be more sympathetic to the nationalist trade ideology, which has been bipartisan here in Washington. So there's major implications, I think, for the entire continent and for our own elections. But we will watch and we will see and update you on that analysis. In the meantime, we've got Glenn Greenwald. He's going to join me now to talk about the media and Joe Biden. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.